Okay, here we go. Yeah, this quest was pretty emotional and pretty good. I think definitely a step up from last year's Archon Quest with Dainsleif and the Traveler Sleeping. Mainly because we actually get to keep the memories of interacting with each other, right? The Traveler and their twin, they actually interact with each other and keep the memories of their interaction, which moves the plot forward, right? There's actual progress in the plot now, which is really good. It actually went pretty far ahead. I liked the overall story of this quest a lot. Just the different things that it reveals, the character motives, the character inner conflicts and such was just pretty good. So I think my favorite part about the setup is that it actually makes the Abyss Order more of a known threat, because for the longest time in Genshin story, you kind of just forgot that the Abyss Order existed. Right, in Mondstadt you had the Abyss Order corrupting Dvalin and such, but then as you go into the other nations, you kind of forget about the Abyss Order because they never really do anything that affects the main story. So I'm glad that here they actually feel like a threat, you know, not the biggest threat, because Natlan is stronger than the Abyss Order, but it's enough of a threat to make Natlan go to war again. So I thought that was a pretty good touch. The other thing is that when we first find this key to the hibernation chamber of the Traveler spaceship, I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is the first time that spaceship has been said in Genshin Impact. So yeah, I guess the Traveler and their twin came from a spaceship. Cool, sure, whatever. Just, that's the canon? Okay, cool. And yeah, so we find the key from a hilichurl, which, oh no, it's a hilichurl. What's a hilichurl doing with the key? And that gives us some reason to believe that, hey, the Abyss Order is around and we may be able to find our sibling. So, okay, cool. As we settle down the conflict between the Abyss Order and Natlan, we go back to the cave where we found the key, and then lo and behold, we meet an NPC right outside, Direidyth. Probably one of my favorite NPC designs because it's actually quite unique, it's memorable, it's just pretty well designed and really detailed for an NPC, so I was pretty like, oh wow. I hope that they do more of these kinds of NPC designs in the future. But yeah, so basically, like, she's able to see monsters that we aren't unless we touch her, so that pretty much gives us a hint that, hey, likely there's some different time space shenanigan going on, which, you know, that is in the title of this quest, A Space and Time for You, and it really does play into that throughout the entire quest. So yeah, by touching her, we're able to share our vision of the different spaces that we're in. And I thought it was kind of funny throughout that Paimon was always like, hey, I can't see any of the monsters around. What am I gonna do? When it's like, yo, Paimon, just literally touch her hand and you can see the monsters. You're literally right next to her. You have hands. You can just touch her. Boom. Problem solved. But Paimon's like, I ain't touching no one because this girl, she's blushing with my traveler and touching my traveler. So I don't know, a little sus. But cool, yeah, you can kind of deduce that, yeah, this person is from the past, you know, primarily because of all the hints throughout, the fact that she doesn't know any of the modern people like Mavuika, the fact that she refers to the traveler as the savior, but, you know, the opposite gender, so it's like, oh, okay, so you know who my sibling is, kind of thing. So yeah, very clear hints throughout the story that this person is from khaenri'ah, which means that they don't look the same. They are a hilichurl. Pretty big twist in the, you know, pretty big knife twist in our hearts at the end. So anyways, the Traveler and Paimon decide to stay the night with Direidyth, and when the Traveler falls asleep, so the Traveler sees their sibling in the dream talking to the Lord of the Night, so there's some Intavat flower being handed as some kind of thing, so there's some kind of deal going on. So we know that the twin is doing something with the Lord of the Night to try and do something, leyline related. But this is all very suspicious, and we go back to the Masters of the Nightwind, and this is where Dainsleif comes back in the story, because Dainsleif is a one-man army, and he just destroys the front line of the Abyss Order. So, yay, Dain. Back in the story to defeat more of the Abyss Order. Dainsleif kind of shrugs off the whole encounter with Direidyth, so that was an interesting thing, because as we see later on, Dainsleif just, like, cannot believe of any kind of khaenri'ah revival. Like, he just does not see the possibility of it, and probably just like is hesitant to even think about it just because of how much revenge he has in his heart over what happened in khaenri'ah. The following day, I thought it was kind of a waste of a story point here, because Yansan says that, hey Dain, you should wait before we go to Cinder City to fight the Abyss stronghold, because we're gathering an army and we're about to head out later. But then Dain's like, hey, I'm gonna go immediately. I ain't got time for that. I gotta go. And then like this plot point never comes back again. Like the Natlan army just never shows up again after this. It's like, oh, why did we even talk about that? But anyways, I thought that the atmosphere of going to Cinder City was like really good. We had Dain as a 5th playable character that we could summon, and he just one-shots literally everything in our paths, which was pretty cool for the setting. And yeah, this is basically where we finish the conflict with the Abyss Order by fighting the Inquisitor, who turns out to be Dain's former teacher from khaenri'ah. I want to talk about this scene a bit. In particular, I think that, you know, even though Dain is really still pissed off at everyone from khaenri'ah, he does, to me, it's like Dain is still struggling having, you know, like inner emotional connections with khaenri'ah because of how much revenge he has in his heart. Like when the Inquisitor, when his former teacher Haden, he tells him that, hey, this Loom of Fate, it's all about trying to revive khaenri'ah. Dain is like, no, you're just lying. There's nothing that you can do about that. khaenri'ah's gone. I refuse to believe you. Even though, like right after, Dain, when Haden asks Dain to recall the memories of khaenri'ah because Haden has pretty much eroded and all his memories are gone, which is really important, right? Dain pretty much just says, okay, fine, and just basically reveals like so much because there's just so many pent up things in Dainsleif's heart. And I'm like, dang, this is Dain pain, right? And it really makes me feel for everyone involved in khaenri'ah. It's just a pretty tragic thing all around, and being able and having to live on as a hilichurl or an abyssal monster for the next 500 years. It's just like every time it just gets to me, right? It's very emotional. Like I'm sure like when Dain tells the stories, he probably has a type of relief that he's finally able to get these feelings or just memories, talk about them with someone. And of course, it turns out that the Abyss Order, they used this war in Natlan as a proxy, as a feint, in order to collect memories for the Loom of Fate, because the Loom of Fate is essentially getting all of the memories of khaenri'ah and then using that as trying to incorporate ley lines there to then bring back khaenri'ah, because memories are essentially in the ley lines and they can make a country come back, right? It's all memory-based, time-based. So yeah, the Inquisitor pulls a Fallout Boy and says, thanks for the memories, and Dain proceeds to kill him again 100 times, even though he can't die. Like, it's just really sad how much revenge Dain has in his heart. Even, like, just mentioning Sertologi, like, just pisses him off. Yeah, there's a lot of trouble there, you know? And when we have, like, 500 years of immortality curse wandering Teyvat, I'm sure that stuff builds up, right? So yeah, we're definitely going to be seeing resolution there down the road. Or maybe they end tragically for Dain. I don't know. We'll see. And one last thing I'll add about this interaction between Dainsleif and Haden is that it really reinforces just how much memories mean and make a character, right? Dainsleif tells us that, yeah, you know, memories are really a core part of a person's personality, of their character. And it's just really sad seeing how a lot of memories get eroded over time due to this curse of immortality, and you really lose your sense of self. You lose who you are. You don't even have a home anymore. So it makes sense to me that even though a lot of people in khaenri'ah, you know, feel that the prince or princess, the traveler's twin, betrayed them, right, by choosing the traveler over khaenri'ah, it still makes sense to me that they're still putting their faith because of the guilt that the traveler's sibling has over not saving khaenri'ah. Right, it makes sense that when you have nothing left, you have no memories, no home to go back to, and someone, even though they betrayed you in the past, they say, hey, I have this way that I'm gambling to try and bring back khaenri'ah, then it makes sense to me why someone would say, you know what, I accept. Like, I will believe in you. I will put all of my faith in you. You know, because what else am I gonna do, right? So I find that part really just sad and emotional to think about. All right, so onto the climax of the story, which is where we have another pretty emotional encounter and just, yeah, overall sad encounter. So yeah, we again we meet up with Direidyth, and we're trying to see like, hey, okay, Direidyth is like a piece of evidence that the Loom of Fate has actually succeeded, quote unquote, because as we find out, she's from khaenri'ah, she's from the past, 500 years ago, and even though, you know, she sees us as the savior, she decides to, you know, want to grab a memento for us because she still wants to find the traveler sibling and try to reunite them, because we all know how much that means to them, right? But then just before she's able to get the key, or if you choose not to give the key like I did, the game will still make you give the key. Yeah, but before that happens, hey, surprise, surprise, the traveler sibling comes out and has an atlas, and everything pauses, right? We see the current, like a memory shard of the cataclysm happening, but everything pauses, and we're like, oh, whoa, why are there like 3 keys involved? Because there's one from the traveler, there's one from the traveler sibling that was dropped today in this realm, but then in the past, because Direidyth had succeeded in giving the key back, then the traveler sibling finds the traveler in their world, but there's already a key there. So it's like there's a lot of time shenanigan going on here. Istaroth is mentioned, right? The one of the 4 shades of the primordial one, that is the god of time. And it's like, oh, is Istaroth mocking the traveler sibling by trying to toy around with things? What is happening? Is it a time loop or whatever? I'm not particularly interested in how it works. I'm more interested in the thematic meaning behind it, in that, wow, like the courses, you know, your actions in the future kind of like set you up for the past. There's a line here in the game summary here that the end of a journey is also its beginning. Time is meaningless. You and I are clearly looking at the same view. Space is meaningless, right? So yeah, we have a lot of theories out there with Teyvat being a samsara, a constant loop that's always looping. Direidyth like serves as a means to try to connect the traveler and their sibling together, ultimately being kind of like a tragic figure there, because even though Direidyth was able to find the traveler's sibling and give the key, which prompted the traveler's sibling to find the traveler, we still end up in a timeline where, unfortunately, Direidyth has been cursed with being a hilitrol for the next 500 year plus, and as we saw at the beginning of the quest, we find her still in the cave holding the key as if waiting to give that key again. And it's like, dang, that's so sad, but like that's so tragic. And you know, at the end of the quest, it's like when we fall asleep in the cave, we feel a gentle touch. You know, of course, it's like, oh wow, it's like she found us again, but then not really, and it's sad. So anyways, I think for Direidyth overall, I really liked how Direidyth played a role into this quest. Just up the stakes a lot. Again, another khaenri'ah affected by the cataclysm and still having to be punished for it, which is sad. The main thing between the traveler and their sibling is that the traveler sibling made basically a contract, so like a Zhongli Saritsa situation where they get permission to use the Night Kingdom ley lines and such and so they're able to utilize memories, create this atlas that can protrude ley line memories and essentially bring back khaenri'ah. But their goal now, after they've completed this Loom of Fate, is that they need a space big enough in order to show all of the memories. So I wonder if like when we go to khaenri'ah, like the destroyed khaenri'ah, if that would be a valid place to put all these leyline memories. But yeah, they're very firm on it. I like that we have some more characterization of the traveler sibling, where one of their motivations is pretty much that they do feel really guilty for not helping to save khaenri'ah during the cataclysm and choosing their sibling over saving khaenri'ah. So that's one of the big driving motivations between there. But of course, it's not the only one, right? The sibling literally says that I still would like to be reunited, but again, there's just something bigger out there than reuniting with their sibling. And the goal ultimately is to eventually have a talk with the heavenly principles as an equal. And apparently you need like a full nation behind you to do that. I don't know, maybe you want to become an Archon or something. It's also clear that the sibling is still very conflicted, because when the traveler says, it's always been about the two of us. That kind of hits the traveler sibling. It hits them. They're like, oh yeah, like yeah, but of course there's something bigger out there that's seemingly more important, or something that we have to take care of first. And that tension, right? That conflict is, I always like seeing that in characters. Like, have conflicts, introduce problems in their lives, make their goals like worth pursuing to try to solve these problems that they have in their lives. So yeah, just pretty emotional. So yeah, the traveler sibling goes away, pretty much saying that, hey, hopefully we'll see each other in the new world that they're creating. It seems like that's the end game. I kind of expect that we likely won't see the Abyss Order for the next year or two, because pretty much, well, Dainsleif just single-handedly just destroyed most of the Abyss Order, because the sibling did gamble using most of their army to try to get the memories. So they pretty much don't have an army for the most part, and likely the next time we'll see them is when they find this space to use the Atlas of the khaenri'ah memories. I wonder how the traveler feels, right? I wonder if it really will be the case that when the traveler gets to the end of their journey, when they get to the Sea of Flowers, that do they really understand where the sibling is coming from, and maybe another loop starts from there. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought the quest was really good. I liked it a lot. Made me, teary-eyed. Just pretty emotional, just for like all the major characters involved. Dainsleif, the Traveler, their sibling, Direidyth, Haden. I'm glad that we've made progress. Like, I'm super glad that, unlike last year, instead of forgetting memories of progress, we actually make progress this year. And the next time that we meet, likely the stakes will have been upped a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Really good quest. Liked it a lot. I think just gonna do the Skirk chapter next. I'm kind of surprised Skirk wasn't in this Archon Quest, but yeah, I guess that she didn't need to be. So okay, yeah, we'll just do this one, and if I'm like super interested in it, then I'll probably make a video on it. But yeah, cool. Thank you for watching. Yeah, and I hope that this has been a good space and time for you. So thank you.